Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India Live, India's voice to the world. I'm Ramesh Ramachandran. Coming up in the next 30 minutes. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi receives the highest civilian award of Mauritius at the National Day celebrations of the island nation. Ukraine backs US proposal for 30-day ceasefire in war with Russia after talks in Saudi Arabia. Washington, D.C. to resume security support to Kyiv. The Trump tariffs on steel and aluminium imports come into play. The European Union to retaliate with tariffs of its own. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi is en route New Delhi after concluding a two-day visit to Mauritius. He visited Mauritius to attend the island's 57th National Day celebrations. Mauritius witnessed an overwhelming display of love and admiration as people lined up the streets to catch a glimpse of Prime Minister Modi. People were holding the Indian flag along with the flag of Mauritius in their hands. The warm welcome reflected the deep-rooted bond between India and Mauritius, showcasing the strong cultural and historical ties shared by the two nations. Prime Minister Narendra Modi has been honoured with the highest national award of Mauritius, the Grand Commander of the Order of the Star and Key of the Indian Ocean. Prime Minister Modi was conferred with Mauritius's highest civilian award by the country's President Dharam Gokul during the celebrations of the Mauritian National Day for his stellar contribution to the India-Mauritius partnership. Prime Minister Modi is the first Indian leader to receive this honour. Prime Minister Modi was the chief guest at the National Day celebrations. He accepted the award on behalf of the 1.4 billion people of India.
I express my heartfelt gratitude for being confirmed the highest national award of Mauritius. This is not just my honor, it is the honor of 1.4 billion Indians. It is a tribute to the centuries-old cultural and historical bonds of kinship between India and Mauritius.
Reaffirming India's unwavering commitment to its special maritime neighbour, Prime Minister Narendra Modi attended the National Day celebrations of Mauritius as the chief guest on Wednesday. An Indian Navy contingent took part in the parade. NCC cadets, who are part of a youth exchange program, also joined in the celebrations. A highlight of the event was the A.R. Rahman song Jai Ho that was played by the Mauritius band. Prime Minister Modi also extended his greetings of the day to the people of Mauritius.
Aerial display by the air warriors of the Mauritius skies welcome the Mauritian Indian tricolor. The Indian contingent from the 84th National Day.
Prime Minister Modi and his Mauritian counterpart Naveen Chandra Ramgoolam inaugurated 20 high-impact community development projects and an India-assisted area health center. These initiatives will bolster Mauritius's healthcare and grassroots infrastructure, bringing tangible benefits to people. The two leaders witnessed the exchange of 8 MOUs in areas across sectors including financial crime prevention, SMEs, public service capacity building, maritime security and local currency trade. A navigational chart of St. Brandon Island was handed over. Prime Ministers Modi and Ramgoolam engaged in extensive discussions. Their talks focused on enhancing collaboration in infrastructure, housing, digital technology, healthcare and AI. And Prime Minister Modi and his Mauritian counterpart Naveen Chandra Ramgoolam jointly addressed the press. Prime Minister Modi highlighted India's vision for the Global South, terming it as Mahasagar, mutual and holistic advancement for security and growth across regions. It would guide development cooperation, capacity building, sustainable development and growth, and also mutual security.
ग्लोबल साउथ के लिए हमारा विजन रहेगा सागर से आगे बढ़कर के महासागर, यानी म्यूचुअल एंड होलिस्टिक एडवांसमेंट फॉर सिक्योरिटी एंड ग्रोथ अक्रॉस रीजन्स. इसमें ट्रेड फॉर डेवलपमेंट, कैपेसिटी बिल्डिंग फॉर सस्टेनेबल ग्रोथ और म्यूचुअल सिक्योरिटी फॉर शेयर्ड फ्यूचर की भावना समाहित है. इसके तहत टेक्नोलॉजी शेयरिंग, कंसेशनल लोन और ग्रांट के माध्यम से सहयोग किया जाएगा.
Addressing a joint press conference, Prime Minister Modi extended India's support to Mauritius for a free, open, secure and safe Indian Ocean.
Free, open, secure and safe Indian Ocean हमारी साझी प्राथमिकता है. हम मॉरिशस के एक्सक्लूसिव इकोनॉमिक जोन की सुरक्षा में पूर्ण सहयोग देने के लिए प्रतिबद्ध है. इस संदर्भ में कोस्ट गार्ड की जरूरतें पूरी करने में हर संभव सहायता दी जाएगी. मॉरिशस में पुलिस अकादमी और नेशनल मैरीटाइम इंफॉर्मेशन शेयरिंग सेंटर, इसकी स्थापना में भारत सहयोग देगा. वाइट शिपिंग, ब्लू इकोनॉमी और हाइड्रोग्राफी, इस पर सहयोग को और मजबूत किया जाएगा. चागोस के संदर्भ में हम मॉरिशस की संप्रभुता का पूर्ण सम्मान करते हैं.
India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi continues to strengthen India's global influence. From being the chief guest at Mauritius's National Day twice to leading India's presence at France's Bastille Day parade, his diplomacy spans continents. DD India's Tripti Tripathi reports.
Prime Minister Modi is the boss.
He is a leader who commands global respect.
Oh, he's a much tougher negotiator than me, and he's a much better negotiator than me.
A statesman shaping India's influence on the world stage. Prime Minister Narendra Modi has been at the forefront of India's growing diplomatic and strategic partnerships. His presence as the chief guest at Mauritius National Day for the second time is a testament to the deep-rooted ties between the two nations and his warm, friendly relationship with the strategic allies. PM Modi was the chief guest at Mauritius National Day for the second time, an honour he first received in 2015. This rare repeat invitation underscores India's special relationship with Mauritius, rooted in shared history, culture and diaspora ties. In 2023, the world watched as India's tri-services proudly marched down the Champs-Élysées during France's Bastille Day parade. This historic moment symbolized the growing military and strategic partnership between India and France. In 2022, PM Modi's visit to Lumbini in Nepal on Buddha Jayanti reinforced India's shared spiritual and cultural heritage with Nepal, strengthening the ties between the two nations. In 2021, Bangladesh celebrated 50 years of independence, an occasion deeply intertwined with India's historic role. PM Modi's presence reaffirmed India's commitment to regional stability and shared prosperity. And in 2017, his visit to Sri Lanka for International Vesak Day showcased India's leadership in civilizational diplomacy, strengthening ties with Buddhist majority nations. From Mauritius to France, from Nepal to Sri Lanka, PM Modi's global engagements are not just visits. They are milestones in India's rising influence. Under his leadership, India is shaping a future of diplomacy, development, and cultural unity on the world stage. With camera person Ashish, this is Prasar Bharati for DD India.
U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio has said that the U.S. would contact Russia on Wednesday regarding the 30-day ceasefire agreement reached with Ukraine. Following over 8 hours of talks in Saudi Arabia, Ukraine agreed to the ceasefire and the U.S. pledged to restore military aid and intelligence sharing. Rubio urged Russia to consider ending the hostilities.
We'll have contact with them today. There's already been contacts at different levels with counterparts, different members of the administration, and that'll continue. But as far as the Russian reaction to it, that's really the question here. And that is, this is a few hours old. We're going to bring it to them directly. We're going to say that Ukraine is prepared to stop all battlefield activity and begin the immediate process of negotiating an enduring end to the war. And we'll see what the response is.
Russia said on Wednesday that it needed to be briefed by the U.S. on the outcome of the U.S.-Ukraine talks in Saudi Arabia before commenting on a proposed 30-day ceasefire in Ukraine. Ukraine expressed readiness to support the ceasefire, and U.S. officials Marco Rubio and Mike Waltz plan to brief Russia on the talks. Kremlin spokesperson Dmitry Peskov said that Moscow expects detailed information in the coming days and did not rule out a potential phone call between Presidents Putin and Trump. Russia's Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov said in an interview published on Wednesday that Moscow will avoid compromises in a possible Ukraine peace deal that could jeopardize lives.
Europe and the UK, they certainly want this to continue. The way they received Zelensky in London after the scandal in Washington, and it's an indication that they want to raise the stakes, and they are preparing something to pressure Trump administration back into some aggressive action against Russia.
All right, now take a look at what else is making news around the world. A 40-year-old Australian man became the world's first human to live with a fully artificial heart for over 100 days before receiving a donor heart transplant earlier this month. The Australian-designed implant has been created to act as a bridge until the patients get their donor heart transplants. People continue to pray for Pope Francis's recovery outside Rome's Gemelli Hospital. The Pope has been in hospital since the 14th of February. Earlier on Monday, his doctors confirmed that the Pope was no longer in immediate danger of death and was responding well to treatment. The third day of the joint drills in the Gulf of Oman witnessed Russia, Iran and China warships practicing artillery fire and other tasks as part of annual joint naval exercises. Later, the ships returned to the Iranian port of Chabahar for the closing ceremony of the drills. Australia's Queensland Police is investigating suspicious packages washed ashore along the Bundaberg coastline on Tuesday and Wednesday. Wrapped in plastic, the packages each weigh 1 kilogram. Police has not confirmed the number of packets received so far. Still to come on DD India Live. China and the EU vow to defend their economic interests against US steel and aluminium tariffs, while the UK says all options are on the table. And 30 militants killed, 190 hostages rescued after Pakistan train hijacked.
What is more important, fixing the present or planning for the future? Innovators across the globe rethinking the way we live to secure a better future for us.
I found out about the Rahi trade-in scheme. I went to the agency and discovered that I could receive a subsidy for this e-rickshaw.
We basically mirror that same process, but instead of water for one of our solutions, we use blocks, powering about 35,000 homes.
Our goal is to send a message that it's important to fight for better urban air quality, and I think Liquid 3 sends that message.
We prepare fish amino acid by mixing the fish waste with jaggery. It is also an excellent organic fertilizer for plants and trees.
We're moving from the lab stage to industrial scale production. We still have a few challenges to deal with, but we've seen that it works.
You're watching DD India Live. I'm Ramesh Ramachandran. US President Donald Trump implemented increased tariffs on all US steel and aluminium imports effective Wednesday, marking a step in his effort to reshape global trade in favor of the US. These tariffs restore a 25% duty on the metals and extend to numerous downstream products, impacting industries from automobiles to consumer goods. Trump has halted a plan to double US tariffs on Canadian steel and metal imports to 50%, just hours after first threatening them. Tariffs of 25% are still going ahead and will take effect from Wednesday. Trump says he would probably reconsider the decision to double planned steel and aluminium tariffs on imports from Canada hours after announcing the sharp hike.
The right thing to do is what we're doing. We're going to get our jobs back, and we're not going to be laughed at. Now, I will say this, that already Canada, and I respect very much, as you know, there's a very strong man in Canada who said he was going to charge a surcharge or a tariff on electricity coming into our country. He has called, and he said he's not going to do that. Okay, he's not going to do that.
China and the EU vowed to defend their economic interests against the new US steel and aluminium tariffs, which took effect on Wednesday. The European Commission said it will impose countermeasures starting 1st April in response to the US's 25% tariffs on steel and aluminium imports. Regretting the move, European Commission Chief Ursula von der Leyen said in a statement the EU would impose quote-unquote countermeasures.
As of this morning, the United States is applying a 25% tariff on imports of steel and aluminum. We deeply regret this measure. Tariffs are taxes. They are bad for business and worse for consumers. They are disrupting supply chains. They bring uncertainty for the economy. Jobs are at stake. Prices up. Nobody needs that. On both sides, neither in the European Union nor in the United States.
China, on the other hand, while not a major steel exporter to the US, vowed to take all necessary measures in response, warning that trade wars have no winners and could harm the global trading system. Japan said on Wednesday that it was regrettable that the country had not been granted an exemption from Trump's steel and aluminium tariffs of 25%. Asked if Japan was considering retaliatory measures, government spokesperson Hayashi Yoshimasa said The two nations would continue to discuss details of the duties which came into effect on Wednesday. Meanwhile, British Prime Minister Keir Starmer expressed disappointment that the UK's steel and aluminium exports to the US are now subject to tariffs. However, he added that London is negotiating a trade deal with all options on the table.
On the question of tariffs, obviously, like everybody else, I'm disappointed to see global tariffs in relation to steel and aluminium. But we will take a pragmatic approach. We are, as he knows, negotiating an economic deal which covers and will include tariffs if we succeed, but we will keep all options on the table.
Militants attacked Pakistan's Jafar Express in Balochistan, injuring the driver and derailing the train. The Baloch Liberation Army took 214 passengers hostage out of 425 on board. Security forces engaged in a fierce gunfight but struggled because of the rugged terrain. At least 30 militants were killed in the operation, while Pakistani forces rescued 190 hostages. Dozens remain captive as the BLA demands the release of political prisoners. In response, Pakistan has suspended railway services to Quetta. Steel plays a key role in India's economy. Minister of State for Heavy Industries and Steel B.S. Verma on Wednesday launched the Steel Research and Technology Mission of India's web portal in New Delhi. DD India's Vishal Barrister caught up with the Secretary Ministry of Steel, Sandeep Pondrik, at the event to talk about benefits of the scheme, production of green steel and impact of US tariffs on steel exports.
If India is to become 5 trillion economy, then steel is going to play a major role. I have with me Secretary Steel. Let's talk to him and find out. Sir, the GDP of India and the demand for steel is also growing. And today the SRTMI has also been launched. So how will it help the growth, especially green steel?
SRTMI has launched 3 schemes today. One is the challenge method, second is open innovation method, and third is a window for startups. So I think it's a very good step because it will increase research and development in new technologies, in artificial intelligence and machine learning, and also for improving the efficiency of the steel making, not only for ISPs, which is integrated service providers, but also for secondary steel sector, which is roughly 45% of India's production. So I think this is a very good effort to develop this R&D in this steel sector, and it will show some results in the coming years.
With the changing geopolitics and also US tariffs, how do you see the whole scenario, especially in the steel sector?
As I said, India is the only major economy where steel demand is growing about 10%, while other major economies, the steel demand is either stagnant or it is even declining. So I think our own domestic demand is enough for our producers. As I said that by 2030, we will need 300 million tons to cater to our own domestic demand. As far as exports are concerned, we don't export much steel. We export about 7-8 million tons of steel out of the 145 million tons we produced last year. And to US, we export less than 100,000 tons. So I don't think this is going to affect our steel industry to a major extent.
So there you heard Secretary Steel, the US sanctions will not affect the steel industry as much, and India is focusing more on its own research and development. With cameraman Piyush in Delhi, this is Vishal Baristo for DD India.
India's Sports Minister Mansukh Mandavia rewarded the women's team for winning the Asian Kabaddi Championship. India won all matches in the group stage and beat hosts Iran in the final. They received a cash prize of nearly 7 million rupees from the Indian government.
The Indian women's Kabaddi team has reached another milestone. They clinched the Asian Kabaddi Championship for the 5th time by defeating host Iran in the final. India's Sports Minister Dr. Mansukh Mandavia felicitated the players and praised them for their stellar performance, hoping that Kabaddi will be included in the Olympics soon.
सब भी हमारी महिला कबड्डी खिलाड़ियों को अभिनंदन करता हूँ। आपकी टीम तो जीती ही है, लेकिन जब आप खेलते हैं और इंटरनेशनल प्लेटफॉर्म पर खेलते हैं तब आपकी टीम भारत की टीम होती है और आपका विजय भारत का विजय होता है।
Indian team captain Sonali Vishnu praised the government's support for the sport, saying it is motivating the players to do well at the grassroots level.
एक्चुअली ये कंपटीशन हम ऐसे खेले थे एज अ कि हम आगे जाके हमारा वर्ल्ड कप है, नेक्स्ट ईयर एशियन गेम्स भी है, तो ये हम अभी से ही काम चालू कर रहे हैं। ये चैम्पियनशिप हमने इसी हिसाब से के लिए कि हमें वर्ल्ड कप में उसका फ़ायदा हो और एशियन गेम्स में भी उसका फ़ायदा हो।
The next target of the Indian team is the World Cup to be held in the country, for which they will start preparations in just a few days. Gaurav Kumar's report for DD India.
An exhibition opens in Marseille, France, bringing together works by the French pop artist alongside objects from the museum's permanent collections. Visitors will encounter the painted and sculpted faces of the characters, as well as more unexpected pieces such as fast food toys and old sideboards. That's all for this edition of DD India Live. Let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. You can get the latest news and updates on the DD India mobile app. It's available on both Android and iOS platforms. Scan the QR code now on your screen to download it. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Ramesh Ramachandran from all of us here in New Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India Live.